Hello everyone, my name is GhostOPTC, and in today's video, I'm going to be discussing where you should be rolling on as of the month of July. So obviously when I'm recording this, it's the 28th of June, but this is going to be the regular batch sugofest of July. That'll be through the entire month until the 26th. So I'm going to be discussing all the parts of the Tobi Roppo sugofest, which is the current new batch banner. And obviously, if you're a player that's not just starting the game, save your gems for Film Red. Maybe save your gems for Kizuna or Treasure Map, or even the support banner. Just don't pull on these new batch to go fast. Don't fall for the trap. But pretty much, we're gonna get started. I'll be breaking down all these units and how valuable they are for you as a new player. So let's start with part 1. Now, I think part 1 is the worst to be pulling on because it's 30 legends compared to the other parts. It's a lot harder to pull other legends. But let's still get started. So obviously we have the new characters that came out, Black Maria Sasaki and Who's Who. They're going to be perfect for this month. All the content is going to be centered around them. And plus they boost 3 of the 5 colors, so they have access to a ton of units. So if you get them, you should be aiming for at least one of them because they will help you a ton in this month. Now, people really rate this lot and this kid. However, I think as a new player, they don't do as much for your account as some other units we'll be talking about. So Law and Kid, they boost Free Spirit Cerebral for Law and then Driven and Striker for Kid. But you're not going to have a lot of those units, I mean being Free Spirit Cerebral and Driven and Striker, when you're first starting. So I think color boosting characters are gonna be the better options. However, there are some exceptions we'll talk about. But I just think they're kind of like, do you really need them? No. Is it good to have them as like a side character? Yes. So I'm gonna, okay, you're hearing this now. For characters that you don't really need will be in orange. For characters that are the highest priority, they'll be in red. If characters aren't highlighted, then I think that you just don't need them. So next up we have another 3 that I think are very valuable to have for your account. So Marco is an XP boosting captain. He is very good for just getting more XP, a 2.25 times XP boost. Yes, he only boosts Sai, Powerhouse, and Fighter, but that's a lot of units that you can use, and realistically you can just use this to farm some content for more XP to get your power level up. And I think I think those Pirate Rumble, sorry, Pirate EXP missions, you should be using Marco if you get him, because you can get so much more XP. Now moving on, Big Mom. Big Mom is really good for speed farming content. This character is good for story mode just because you want a ton of end of turn damage to just wave clear everything. Big Mom isn't that good otherwise, but she's just like V1 Kaido. Is he here? Yes, he is. Okay, he's just like V1 Kaido because he can blitz through everything, and I think that he's very strong. Not he. She is still very strong. Now General Frankie is a rainbow captain, and I love General Frankie. He's got so much usage, and you can use him just as a general rainbow captain, pretty much. He can use every single, color, every single class under him. So if you get him, your account is gonna be in very good stead. Now for Brook and Odin, these characters are fine. Brook only boosts Free Spirit, and Odin boosts Free Spirit and Slasher. And you know what? I'm just gonna take out this. I gotta Control Z, so I'm not gonna do the orange. It's kind of weird. Just go for the units highlighted in red. I think these 4 characters here, they're all super class, but they don't boost that many units, and I think that it's just not as worth going for it as compared to going for like Black Maria Sasaki, Who's Who, Big Mom Marco, and General Frankie. If you get them, again, that's very good. Every unit is going to have their own bit of content they're going to be very good for, but I just don't think as a new player, you should be working on getting your pirate level up, starting off the game, getting more rainbow gems, clearing the story and stuff like that. So I think these units aren't going to help you as much. However, they'll be very strong to have on your account and partner up very well with other units. Kinemon Dendro is nice for utility, but I think they're the same as the other ones. This Katakuri only boosts Powerhouse, so it's not that good. Lucci is pretty strong, but I don't think you need him. Ulti Page 1 is the same. King and Queen are the same. like as I mean, when I say they're the same, that you just don't need them. Magellan's okay, you don't need them. Zoro and Kaido, you don't need them. Neither do you need the uh, the what's it called? Sweet Commanders, the Sabo, or this or Sobo Master. However, we are at the next part of units that are very valuable to get for your account. So it's gonna be V1 Kaido and Jack. So V1 Kaido, like I already mentioned before, is pretty much the same thing as this Big Mom. They both do end of turn damage, so they're kind of interchangeable in each other. So if you get Big Mom, you don't need Kaido. If you get Kaido, you don't need Big Mom. They're pretty much just gonna be used to blitz your store to get you a ton of gems, so you can keep pulling for these stronger characters. Now, Marco is just like Jack because they're both XP boosters. Jack is only a 2 times booster, but Marco is a 2.25 times booster. Now, they're both very, very strong, and I think that, again, it's the same thing as Big Mom and Kaido. If you get Jack, you don't need Marco. If you get Marco, you don't need Jack. That's pretty much it. And as for the rest of these units get their level limit break, so don't worry about them as a new player. So that's gonna wrap up part 1. I'd say the highlighted units are obviously in the red. So if you're looking to reroll on part 1, like you don't care, just you want to reroll on part 1, then these are the characters you should be looking out for. Now next up we have part 2. Now this part is only with Black Maria, so no Sasaki or Who's Who. But let's get into what are the good units on this thing. So obviously I've already discussed what Black Maria and Marco are good for. Obviously boost a lot of colors and you're an XP booster, so getting them is very valuable, like I've said. Brooke, we've already talked about. You've already talked about you and you. Like you don't need you. You don't need you. Ace versus Akainu is another very very powerful unit. Now all versus units are very strong because they're two legends that can boost different things and do different things. I think if you are, I mean this character is the best versus unit, and this is definitely at like a top 10, top 7, like even top like 6 unit in the game, depending on who you talk to. This character is very, very strong. Ace boosts free spirit and shooter, a kind of boost driven and powerhouse, so it works very well. This is a character that I think you should definitely be looking out for, especially if you decide to go on this part. They're a very good unit and work well with both of these characters since, well, Akainu works well with Black Maria because she's a power superclass, and then Marco is also a powerhouse. So they work well with each other. Ace is really good though because he can obviously be your free spirit and shooter booster. Let's keep going. And is there any other notable characters? I don't think so. This part is kind of mid for when you're starting an account because obviously we have a look at part 1 and there's like what? Almost triple the amount of characters in red. So I think that part 2 is not that good to pull on just because, I mean, there's a lot less desirable units. Like, obviously, a lot of these characters are good, like with the exception of the level limit breaks. Level limit breaks are good, but you need like 9 dupes, and you're not going to be able to get them when you're just starting out. But yeah, that wraps it up for part 2. These are the 3 characters I think you should be going for if you decide to pull on part 2. But yeah, let's go on to part 3. Okay, so part 3 is around Who's Who. And I think that this is a much better part than part 2. But let's get it started. We've already discussed what Who's Who does, and Law is very strong. I know I've said that you don't really need him, and he's not that beginner friendly, but I'm kind of gonna go back on my word. I think this Law is very good. Plus he has utility in his captain effect, and so is this big one. Let me just do this because there's 3 units right by each other. These 3 units. So actually, let me go back to part 1 and highlight these units. Part 1 just got like a ton better. These units are very strong, and they're still gonna be very high point boosters in other events. But yeah, we'll discuss them more now that I've started highlighting them. Law is very good because he can be your attack boost or your aura boost. He heals, he gives cooldown, he has the paralysis reduction in his captain effect, and he does boost 2 classes. Like I know I said, oh yeah, you don't need him, he's not that beginner friendly. But then I kind of looked at Ace versus Akainu, and they're kind of in the same boat. So I'm like, okay, I should probably just, highlight them because they're very good. And if you're a new player, they'll help you out a ton. We already talked to you guys, like you don't really need them. Kaido versus Big Mom, another versus unit. And they're kind of like Who's Who, Black Marine, and Sasaki because Kaido boosts Dex, Int, and Strength, so 3 colors, and then Big Mom boosts Psi, Strength, and Int. So they boost 3 colors, and I think when you're first starting an account, you should be focusing more on color captains because you're gonna obviously have more units that boost colors and classes. But very, very strong. Otherwise, these characters are very good. Let's keep going down the list. Snake Man. Snake Man is regarded to be one of the used to be like the best legend in the game at one point. Like either best legend, I don't remember. I wasn't playing around then, but I know that he is very well rounded. He can be your orb booster with a super class to not class type to give you an attack boost, gives you matching slots, damage. Very strong unit, and I think this is another good character to have on your account because he is partially rainbow with like all 4 times rainbow boost. So obviously 4 times is very low in today's day and age, but he's still good for clearing some older content. And plus he's a Luffy, so that's a good thing about him. Now, Bullet, I'm kind of on the edge about because he boosts 3 colors, yes, but he's not really that good as a captain. He's like a 4.5 times to himself, and his special is pretty trash. So I don't think I'll highlight him. I mean, yes, he boosts a lot of characters, but you don't really need him. And of course, we already talked about Jack. He is your EXP booster. I think this part is, again, much better than part 2. But I think, like, overall, there's a lot of good characters on part 3. And obviously the level limit breaks are down here. You don't need to worry about them. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up from part 3. Let's move on to part 4. Alright, so with part 4, we're here. This is Sasaki's part. And let's just start with these 3 characters. These 3 characters, I haven't talked about Kid, but we already know what Sasaki does. I mean, I haven't talked about what Sasaki does, but the main part about him is your captain effect being able to boost 3 of the 5 colors. And General Frankie is a rainbow captain, and you always want a rainbow captain. Now Kid is just like Law. He can be the attack booster, the orb booster. He gives orb manipulation. He does damage. He locks the slots. Oh, this character is just so good. I wish I had him. But for a new player, he's obviously good. He's a driven striker captain. The only problem is I don't really like his captain. Yes, it's a very fast and very tanky captain, but I don't like that it cuts your HP at the end of the turn. But this is still a very strong character. As a sub, as a captain, it doesn't matter. This character is very good. Now, Odin we've already talked about, he's very good. And I'm kind of on the edge again with Cat Viper and Dog Storm. Because they're very good. And they're very good for speed farming. But realistically, you're not going to need much speed. You know, I'm just going to do it. I think Cat Viper and Dog Storm are very good units. The only problem is it's kind of annoying to team build for them because you need strength dex quick characters just like Black Mirror and Sasaki. They also have to be either fighter slash striker or a shooter character. So it's a little bit difficult to team build with them. But I think they're very good because they can blitz you through content and can, you know, just carry you kind of. Now we already talked about you, but Whitebeard versus Shanks. Whitebeard versus Shanks is very good because in both forms they boost Psi and Int, but Shanks boosts slashers and Whitebeard boosts strikers. So, very strong unit, can boost a ton of characters just like the other versus units, and a very valuable character to have on your account. This is not the best versus unit, I think Ace vs Akainu is, but this is definitely the second best. And as we keep going, we get down to the man, the myth, the legend, Kaido. And I'm actually going to highlight Vivi Rebecca too. So, obviously no Kaido, he's a speed farming captain, he can blitz you through content. But Vivi Rebecca removes all turns of defense up and rainbow shield, which is very good. They give color affinity, but color affinity doesn't really matter. And they have a very nice switch effect that can pretty much carry you. Like, I mean, giving a 2-1-5 times chain lock every single turn and some healing is very strong. But I think that's it because, I mean, characters have level limit breaks and they're just trash. Like, Jinbei's trash, and Mihawk's trash, and a bunch of characters here are trash. But the highlighted characters are obviously who you're going for the most. Now, yes, if you get Lucci or Queen or Odin or Robin Jinbei or some characters on the other parts, they're not bad. Every character is going to have their, you know, level limit breaks in the future, their 6+s if they don't already have them. And, I mean, like, people consider Odin and Queen and all these characters godly units. It's just, in my eyes, if you're a new player, you're not going to have as many free spirit slashers or cerebral fighters, or powerhouse fighters. Yes, Lucci boosts dex as well, and you boost dex from powerhouse. We're not really here to talk about them. We're here to talk about the best units for starting off your account. But that's going to wrap up the discussion of each part. So now let's start eliminating the parts based on which one's the best reroll for new players. Alright, so first one I'm going to start with getting rid of is part 2. You don't need to be rolling on part 2 because, I mean, as you can see, there's only 3 characters, being Marco, Ace vs. Akainu, and Black Maria. Those are the characters that are like the best for new characters. Not characters, players, sorry. So I don't think you should be rerolling there. Now, I'm also going to, in that sense, eliminate part 4. Part 4 is much better than part 2. If you decide to pull there because you like Sasaki better, and go ahead. But there's just some other things that the other 2 parts provide that I think is better. I mean, obviously, yes, you have your speed farming units, you have your versus unit, you have another speed farming utility, all that. You have a lot of characters here, but I think that part 3 and part 1 are kind of better, well-rounded. Especially, like, part 2 kind of just sucks. 4 new characters. Not characters, players. I'd keep getting that wrong. I don't want to stress this enough. I feel like this might come off as wrong to some characters. Like, I keep saying characters. Sorry, players. Like, some players were a little concerned. Oh, wow, King. King is such a good unit. But, if you're a new character, oh my god, new player, it's gonna be harder to have a lot of units. But now it's the debate between part 1 and part 3. So originally at the start of the video, I said part 1 was the worst to be pulling on. However, looking over the units actually, it is definitely not the worst. But, do I suggest that you re-roll on part 1 or part 3? And I think I'm gonna have to go with, let me just zoom out a bit, part 3. I think part 3 is a better, well-rounded part. Because here there are more units. Obviously, there are like, what, 10 more units, right? There's so much empty space here compared to part 1. I think you should definitely be pulling on part 3, and we'll discuss this in a second once I finish circling it. So the thing about part 3, right, is it's better, well-rounded. Let me just zoom out one time. Yes, okay. So with part 3, you have units that are like Who's Who again is one of the new match characters. He's very good. He does indifferent damage, which is nice, depending on your perfects. Law is very strong, and I think he's better because he has some utility in his captain effect. Big Mom's good for getting you through story. You have Kaido versus Big Mom as a versus unit. That's very valuable to have. Snake Man's a very strong character who can, blitz you through content because, I mean, he's just a strong character. Can be upwards of a 5 times multiplier as well. And you have your XP booster with Jack. So you have, speed farming, you have XP, you have utility and stuff like that. You have a versus unit. It all works out well compared to the other parts. Now, obviously, yes, everything that's on a majority of the stuff that is on part 3 is on part 1. But there's more units on part 1 than there is on part 3. So let me get rid of all these X's and whatnot. And I think that you, as a new player, should be going on part 3. Part 3 is the best part to be rerolling on. I'll just reiterate, you have your XP booster with Jack, you have your speed farming unit with Big Mom, you have a versus unit, you have utility in the captain effect, you have a lot of units boosted, plus they're going to be good this month, and just an overall well-rounded unit that can be a rainbow captain if needed to be. And obviously there's a bunch of other characters here. Like, I love using this VV so much. This Dofi is amazing. Bullet's very unique, and Kinemon Denji has got some good utility. So there's a lot of good units, and I actually think after making this video, I will be making a, tier list for new players on what legends are the best to own for your account. But that's gonna wrap it up for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're a new player, tell me if this helped you. Part 3 should be coming out as of tonight on the 28th. So I suggest that you re-roll. I think the top priority is probably, let me go over there, probably this Who's Who, this Big Mom, and Jack. I think those are the three that you should be focusing on the most. Obviously, Big Mom doesn't work with Who's Who, but that doesn't matter. Anyways, once again, that's going to wrap it up for me. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.